Hey everyone, welcome to the New Populist. I'm Dave Brown. If you are new to my channel, please like and subscribe. Well, last night we had Tucker Carlson and Representative Maria Salazar going back and forth in this contentious interview, and it was pretty entertaining. She was talking a lot about Ukraine and her support of a no-fly zone, or as she said, let's give Zelensky anything he wants. But let's ignore her neocon BS there and focus on her immigration stuff because Tucker Carlson asked her some pointed questions. She dodged around, she danced, and then said that he had not read the bill. Well, I went to her website and I didn't read the entire thing. It's 484 pages long. So I didn't read 484 pages in 24 hours, but I did browse through it and find the important parts. And of course, when you have a bill that's this long, the longer it is, that usually means there's more garbage in it. And it's called the Dignity Act. And again, those sort of names, they call it the Dignity Act. It's trying to cover up other stuff, and it's BS. It's just addressing to make the bill sound good. So in short, this bill is another rhino turd in the punch bowl, but I figured I'd go through it and just point out some of the more egregious stuff in it that's for people who support secure borders and stopping this immigration crisis. Things are just a non-starter. And the first thing is it is de facto amnesty, and this bill basically starts a program where if you have been here at least by July 4th, 2016, if you have been here since then, you are eligible for this program. And that is millions, if not tens of millions of people. And it's a 10-year program that once they complete it, they can have this indefinite renewal every 5 years of a visa. It's called the Dignity Visa. And so we are giving amnesty to tons of people. And again, the qualifications for who qualifies is essentially, if you've been here since July 4th, 2016, and you haven't killed anybody, you qualify. So it is an de facto amnesty. Now, there are other things in this bill that are of note. They talk about increasing the border guard, and it wants to increase it by 3,000 personnel by 2025. And what does that really do? 3,000 more people to sit there and watch immigrants cross the border. They'll catch them and then release them back into the United States anyway. So when you see these provisions, we're going to have a few more guards, and okay, we're going to have a little more funding to build some more fences. I go, who cares? What is that actually going to do? So I'm not impressed by the provision for more Border Patrol guards or any more increased funding for physical barriers on the border. Now, there's another thing here I thought was interesting was the National Guard. And it says that we can use the National Guard on the border if the governor requests it. Yet, when you actually go through the bill, what it says here is, with the approval of the Secretary and the Secretary of Defense, the governor of a state may order any units or personnel of the National Guard of such state to perform operations and missions under Section 502. So what's the caveat here? With the approval of the Secretary of Defense. So clearly, if you have a Democrat administration, ain't happening, right? So what good is that? And if you have a Republican Secretary of Defense or under a Republican administration, there are limitations to what the National Guard can do. So what kind of things can the National Guard do if they are allowed to go to the border because the governor has called them? Well, they can do construction of reinforced fencing or other physical barriers, operation of ground-based surveillance systems, deployment of manned aircraft, and intelligence analysis support. So basically, not a whole lot. They can go, we're watching over here, and hey, border guard, we see people over there, go over there. but they can't actually get involved in actually securing the border. So when Tucker Carlson said to Salazar last night on the show, he says, do you support having the U.S. military on the border to secure our borders? She dodged around, and in her own bill, there is none of that. And again, it's the National Guard, but their ability to do a lot is severely limited. Now, moving on, E-Verify. We've all been talking about E-Verify. We all support E-Verify, and there is E-Verify in this bill, but it's what's called a gradual phase-in according to the bill, meaning that you're given a certain amount of time to eventually implement E-Verify. Now, it says that within 6 months of enactment, businesses having more than 10,000 employees are required to use E-Verify. Now, if you have between 500 and 9,999, you get 1 year. If you have between 20 and 499 employees, you get 18 months. Okay, but how many businesses actually have more than 499 employees? The answer, 0.24%, meaning that 900 or 99.76% of businesses have less than 500 employees, meaning that all those businesses will have over a year and a half to actually get E-Verify. So we're kicking the can down the road. We passed the bill, but it doesn't actually kick in for another year and a half. And then later, there's a provision here saying that there's going to be a nationwide E-Verify audit within 5 years of enactment. So you have, again, 5 years where God knows what's going on before we finally stop and go, okay, let's do a audit and see if these states are actually complying. And of course, what's the answer to that question? Well, who knows? Later in this bill, it also talks about different waivers. If you are not eligible by the admission standards to these programs, it says here, waivers for certain grounds of inadmissibility for humanitarian purposes, family unity, or if otherwise in the public interest. The Secretary may waive the grounds of inadmissibility. So what are we saying here? There's all this latitude for people who would otherwise not qualify for this de facto amnesty to be given it because somebody, I guess in this case the Secretary, thought they deserved a waiver. And of course, we can go ahead and assume a Democrat administration or whoever's in charge will be giving a lot of these waivers out. That's pretty obvious. So again, another workaround, another thing to say, okay, well, we're gonna stop illegal immigration, but not this crowd over here, not them over there. I feel sorry for that guy, so we'll just let him in. Where are the teeth? There are no teeth here. And then also it talks about the visa programs for agriculture and other things, and it doesn't limit or constrict it. And in fact, it says we're trying to make sure that we have security for the agricultural workers because they are so necessary for the survival of our nation, our ability to feed ourselves. If these workers aren't here, the whole country would collapse. And that's what Salazar alluded to during her interview with Tucker, that these people are absolutely necessary for this country. If they're not here, the United States would just poof, we'd be finished. So this bill actually secures them. And then again, it's not just the workers that they're securing, the agricultural workers, but it says they can also grant status to the spouses and the children. So once again, we're talking about who's getting this de facto amnesty. It's not this group here. It's all these different groups and all these little tentacles to make sure pretty much everyone's covered, except the one guy who's here by himself with no family who's murdered 2 people. That guy might get deported. Great. That's awesome. But besides him, everybody is pretty much going to be staying here. So this bill is hot garbage. It's more rhino nonsense. It's more establishment Republican nonsense. It'll never pass. But even if it does, again, It's not going to do a damn thing. And the one thing I always try to stress is that you can have the best laws ever, great laws, perfect laws. But if the people in charge simply won't observe the law, what good is the law? We see every day planes being, landed in, cover of darkness, dropping off immigrants all around the country. Is that legal? If the Attorney General says, you know what, we're going to prioritize this over here and not this over here, that's, in a sense, basically saying that law doesn't exist anymore. And, of course, as I said before, with a Democrat administration, they're going to choose which laws they want to focus on and which laws they want to ignore. So we can have a 2-page bill or we can have a 2,000-page bill. If the administrative state, the judges, all the people in the bureaucracy aren't actually pulling the trigger to enforce the laws, these laws mean nothing. So, and this is where any Republican who doesn't bring attention to this fact and tries to make these, present these bills that are supposed to solve these problems, they're full of crap, and they should not be trusted. They should be primaried and thrown out because don't fall for that garbage. They try it all the time, and this bill here is just another attempt at that, and a very poor attempt. So hopefully, I'm hoping Tucker's people go through the article or go through the bill like I did, find these things here, and hopefully he reports on it because there's enough here to basically show that her whole position and her whole immigration plan is BS, and no Republican, no Trump supporter should ever support this. This is not America first. Well, that's it for now. Again, if you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.